right, gang, sitting down now with my pal. I feel like I can call him my pal. I've been chatting with him off and on for months and months and months, centered around a really cool company that he's started. Yes, I'm talking to Josh Little, the founder and CEO of Volley, a really compelling app that aims to get rid of useless meetings and streamline communication. My man, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Oh, it's my honor. Yeah, your team was one of the first really successful teams with Volley. So it's been a couple of years now, actually. So we are friends. We've connected. We've never met in real life, but we've talked a lot on Volley.
Hey, but I've been in your RV virtually.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You're like, wait, what? You smell different when you're asleep.
A virtual tour.
So one of the reasons I wanted to invite you on, aside from, I mean, in my opinion, and I don't blow smoke. I'm not a smoke blower. Like, you do such a tremendous job at building community and rallying people around the same campfire and conveying a message in a way that you're like, oh, that just makes complete and total sense. That was one of the things that really intrigued us about what you're working on with Volley. And I'll let you tell us all about that in a minute. But the reason I stumbled on Volley to begin with was because I am constantly seeking for improved communication. I think effective communication makes all the difference in how an organization thrives, and it can make poor communication, adversely to that, is a disaster. And it kills me to think of how many businesses out there are falling apart. Even relationships are falling apart because of ineffective communication. And I just felt like that's something you're trying to solve. So maybe give us a little background on Volley, how you came up with the idea, and what the mission is.
Yeah, I mean, communication is the lifeblood of any organization, group, or team, and I've seen that played out over and over and over again. And but the problem is we don't realize that there's a problem because there are only two ways to communicate. You can either type or you can talk. And people don't really think about this or distill it down or get nerdy like I do. But when you do something like chat or text or email, you're typing. And when you choose to do something like that, you're doing something you're 7 times slower at than talking. You have this gift as a human to talk really fast and convey a lot of information through tone of voice and body language. Only 7% of the words, 7% of your message is actually carried by the words you choose to speak. 38% is carried by what you sound like when you say those words. And 55% is carried by what I look like when I say those words. This is why we're doing this podcast on video and not just emailing back and forth questions, because it's so much more powerful. So technology has only brought us digital versions of typing and talking. Zoom is digital talking. StreamYard, digital talking.
Right.
Slack is digital typing. What if technology actually made us better? What if it allowed us to use our human gifts to speak as fast as I could speak, but not interrupt you, and you could listen to me on 2x, and we could have the flexibility of texting and talking. What if texting and talking had a baby? Wouldn't that be amazing? Hey, let's build something called Volley. That's like texting and talking and a baby. And the way we do that is we share video messages back and forth. So in Volley, you take turns, just like any other conversation, except you record your turn with a video. But it can also be a text or an audio message or a screen recorder or a file or document, whatever you need to share your message, right? But video is the hero of the story. And then you can send me a video back. And by doing that, we have the best of both worlds. And so that's what we've been working on, the fastest way to human connection, and trying to bring a lot more belonging into the world. And we have, especially with teams like yours early on in the early days. And we've evolved now to helping creators better engage with their audience, and people run these really powerful masterminds because it's flexible face-to-face communication, and that's really not been delivered to the world in a meaningful way that we could use as a group. And that's what we're kind of pioneering every day. So what do you think? Is that good enough? Is that enough content?
Yeah, I love it. All right. So thanks so much for joining me on the show. I love it. And to your point, you had keyed in on something, and I want those listening to really, or watching, to pay attention to this. This is my takeaway. If communication can then become asynchronous, and I don't have to set aside or an hour for something that's not going to be productive anyway, and that's the huge gripe around meetings. It's like, do we have to again? It's not going to be productive, and you're pulling me out of the zone. Like, especially for me as someone who's a little more creative, and my team members who are more creative, when you're in that zone, there's nothing worse than being pulled out of it. It's like
Right.
waking a dog up who's so deeply dreaming that they're running in their sleep, and then being woken up. You can only imagine that dog is like, what you doing? Why'd you do that to me? I was chasing a celery stalk with peanut butter, and you ruined it. And so this idea of asynchronous, and being with the understanding of, you will get a response back at the right time for me, which then means you're getting the best version of me responding back, not the stressed version, not the passive aggressive annoyed you pulled me out of the creative zone, interrupted. You're not interrupting anything. And so that thing, that one piece, I think, could be really tremendous, not just for car dealers, but for any organization or any relationship. I see my wife using asynchronous communication all the time. She prefers it over the phone, over text, over everything. And so what have you seen as far as adoption? Like, how are organizations adopting something like Volley and implementing it into their workflow?
Yeah. So, we started, like I said, trying to solve for team communication, because we felt like that was the highest and best use of this technology. Because the previous gold standard was, we're all in a room together and we can tap each other on the shoulder. Like that was the best thing. If we could be eyeball to eyeball. But it turns out, like you said, what if I'm in the middle of writing the last line of the manifesto? What if I'm writing in the middle of solving this hairy bug that I've been working on for weeks, and you tap me on the shoulder and like, hey, look at this. And I'm gone. I've lost whatever I had. Right. And so deep work is a thing, especially in knowledge work and creative work, which most of us are doing these days. Right. So that's where we saw the highest and best use of Volley. And we had many teams like yours adopt Volley. We saw an interesting thing, though, and this is going to sound like I'm selling against Volley, is most teams weren't ready for it. They weren't ready to live this higher law. We're so used to meeting behavior, and we're so used to just like our calendar just dictating what we do, and like being proud of like, I'm back to back all day, and that sort of I'm back to back equals I'm pretty important, right? Because I'm back to back, right? That's shortcut, you're right. They couldn't break through, and so work is still a high risk behavior. You unfortunately, most cultures, it is a high risk behavior to put yourself out there, and you can hide behind a Slack message. You can leave your camera off on a Zoom call, and you can take your cheap shot in a meeting and sit in the back of the room, right? But in Volley, you hit record and you're on. Like, if you don't have something to say, or it's not safe to say it, you're going to freak out. You're going to think it's evil. And so we saw team after team after team after team adopt Volley and have kind of this same problem, where there was this champion who was like, hey, everybody, this is the future. Like, no more meetings. Let's cancel our meetings. Let's here's the Volley link. Jump on Volley. And there would be a good core of the team that would be like, yes, this is it. Oh, we're syncing up, checking and unblocking at the speed of like, this is amazing. But then they'd have these one or two people who would be like, no, and they couldn't get there. This is dumb. This is evil. Like, I shouldn't be able to have to, record a video. I feel like I'm talking to myself, or whatever excuse they want to put out there. So they weren't willing to swallow the medicine that could make them better, right? That could make them better. Another challenge we saw were teams that saw, oh, this is cool. We'll still use Slack, but we'll use Volley as like this hobby car that we keep in our garage,
Right.
But that's the problem. This hobby car you get out once a month, you drive it, you wonder why you're driving it. in for Volley to solve the problems that you want it to solve, like lack of communication, loneliness, meeting fatigue, it's got to be your daily driver. You have to use a video first format of communication so that you are communicating with all of the fidelity, all of the empathy. Because you're right, like most meetings, it's not that they could have been a volley, like a single volley, but most meetings are really just, I have an idea, I want to bounce this off of you, I need a couple rounds of feedback, let's refine it and unblock me to move forward. It's way too much to email. It's way too much to write in a Slack message. So what do? Let's schedule something. And this is why
Right.
everyone's calendars, look like they got the measles. And that's what we're trying to solve, right?
This calendar is rabid.
This calendar is ill.
This thing's ill. The use case I see, though, I mean, great job on not selling it. But I think of, how does a typical organization work? And there are so many use cases. Yes, it clears up the calendar. Yes, we get the best of communication from that individual. But also, yes, it forces everyone to listen.
Yeah.
Because it's one at a time. You can't get 7 volleys at the same time. They play in order of whenever they were submitted. And so I think of a use case across an organization where I even know, when I was working for people and you get an email, the problem with text only communication is, in addition to the things that you've brought up, is it's also heavily dependent on their ability to write and convey a message through writing, which they can't, and the reader's reading comprehension level, which, what's the standard? It's like 5th or 6th grade reading comprehension levels in an average adult. So now you have this breakdown where the recipient always thinks the leader is upset or being passive aggressive, or what did they mean by that? Hey, you see what Josh, what do you think he means by this? Anxiety, all sorts of disaster clouds start to form when a simple, like, seeing them, hearing them, and being like, oh, everything's fine. They're good.
Yep.
Like, this is all good. Alleviating a lot of that pressure. And in the back and forth of a dealership, there's so much pattern interruption that I think this could solve. People lining up out of the manager's door waiting to ask a simple question that perhaps isn't even urgent, but that they've been trained to think is urgent because of the way they currently do things. If they just had that stop motion, that pause motion to be like, is this actually an urgent thing? No? Okay. Hey, what's up? Like, hey, what's up? Quick question. Get back to me when you can. Done.
Yep. And you can convey a lot in 20 seconds there, right? And that's all you really need. And it doesn't need to be interruptive. And that's why I love it. It is sort of an all-in form of communication. When I'm listening to your message, I can be all in on what you're saying. And when I'm recording my message back, I'm all in on that message. I'm not trying to read your reaction or the room or whatever it may be distracting me in the moment. So I don't know enough about a dealership to speak in depth. I worked at a car dealership for 2 weeks when I was 19. So that's my only experience. It wasn't a good experience. So let me tell you, there could be a lot improved in this Central Michigan car dealership, which I won't name the name of, but
ABC Motors, the most famous dealership in the world.
They're out of business now because they should be, but
oh no. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense to me that that this mission makes sense. We see it in the car industry. I believe that to today's standards, if someone, because of smartphones and how this upcoming generation thinks about things and how the patterns we've adopted in our communication, I believe that to today's standards, if one feels like they are over communicating, they probably are still not communicating effectively.
You're right.
Enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. We're leaving so much on the table with our form of communication, and like you said, those misinterpretations. The classic example there is, we need to talk. There's 100 ways you could take that in a text message, right? We need to talk. ... Oh no.
Yeah, my bowels instantly quiver. Yeah.
Right. But if it's a volley, it's record, hey, we need to talk. Like there's no mistaking. You saw my eyes, you heard the tone of my voice. I have something cool, and it's going to be good when we get together, and we should get together soon because we need to talk, right?
Right.
And that's just a small example, but there's so much being left on the table. But these patterns are hard to break. It's hard to get out of Slack crack and Zoom doom. I don't know. Are dealerships using something like Slack to communicate async or text?
No, text,
No,
probably email, like a ton of email still. Ton of email.
really,
Uh-huh.
like between team members. I guess because of proximity, there's less of a need to have like a central repository for communication like that. There's a lot verbal.
Right. A lot of
Right.
but that's the point. That's why I wanted to have you on. They need to know that this is an option. They need to know that there is a more efficient way. There are some dealers who use Slack and they swear by it. There are some dealers who use like that. Slack is a huge improvement over email for a lot of them because it allows them to just, hey, create channels, have a service department channel, a parts department, whatever.
Yep.
This though, to the point of what we're talking about here, being able to see somebody, hear somebody, pick up on all of those other signals, to your point of we need to talk, or oh man, we need to talk, that so much gets lost in translation that I just think we're sitting here with unnecessary nervous diarrhea when it doesn't need to be the case. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I'm thinking of like even because I was in sales in those 2 weeks at a dealership. I was in sales, and so I could even think of like a sales manager who just uses it for the sales team. Hey, we've got new inventory. This is what's going on. Hey, this week we're running this offer. Just so you know, here are the details of this. Like all of those things that have to happen synchronously could totally happen asynchronously, and actually might be better. Because we're going to do a tour of each new like high line vehicle that we get in, and we're going to do like a 2-minute video tour. You can actually just forward this to one of our potential customers. Like if someone calls in, we've already got this 2-minute video. This is actually why I created Volley, which is ironic. I bought a motorhome cross country, and I was talking to like 20 different dealers trying to find this very specific motorhome. And it was like an act of Congress to get a video. So I'm going to take a video of what was almost $250,000 purchase. Like, really? Well, I don't know. We'll see if Bob can upload it later today. And what? Just,
right.
You should just be able to do this. It should just be so easy to just hit record on your phone. It sends to a customer. But I'm not sure that the use case between sales rep and buyer makes sense just because of stranger danger issues. That's the feedback we got early. That's why we kind of pivoted to meetings. But we just want to create a better way to communicate. So I think car dealerships can use it too.
Well, here, as you're saying that, the thought process that comes to my mind is, okay, so you have somebody buying the Ram TRX. That's the hot topic right now, right? Why would I not create? You mentioned this earlier, right? Like you've got Tim Schmoyer using it for masterminds, keeping connected with his customer base, course recipients, all that kind of stuff. Why wouldn't we deploy a similar concept at the dealership where it's like, I'm going to create a channel in Volley for TRX customers to create this kind of VIP.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, so you bought it? Hey, let me borrow your phone real quick. We're downloading this Volley app and I'm sending you this invite or whatever, and make it this thing that I can keep in touch with my customers in a format that is honestly something they would love. The customer would absolutely love being like, all right, guys, this week we're talking about the quick tip that's going to help you improve your whatever, XYZ. Or, hey, did you know about this hidden feature in your TRX? Hey, did you know about, like, I would love that.
So you're saying like get all your TRX customers into a space together where they could even share like, oh, you know what? I just bought this new bumper. Don't get the Illuminate bumper because, the brackets don't line up or whatever. Oh, really? Where did you get that? We can share tips. All like build a little community out of your customers. I hear that community is like the future of sales. I've heard that in a few places, but that could be cool, right? It's not occurred to me till now, but I like that.
Seriously, that's a really cool customer experience way that I think we could be deploying something like Volley, and that dealers should really be paying attention to. You know, it kills me. All this talk, we latch on to buzz, right? Like that's just human nature. We latch on a buzz, and it's like Web3. What am I going to do? I'm a dealership. Web3. I got to wrap my head around Web3 or metaverse. What am I going to do, man? The metaverse is the way of the future. Dude, you want an intro to the metaverse? Download
Yeah.
Volley.
Yeah.
Get your team to use it, because once you're in there, you're in the metaverse. You're just not hiding behind a cartoon
All right.
avatar.
That's it.
Y-
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're, for all
Right.
intents and purposes, we're in the metaverse right now. You're somewhere. You're in your version of Decentraland. It
Mm-hmm.
just happens to be a real place. I'm in mine, and we're conversing one with another. Why
That's right.
even go to the extreme that you can't wrap your head around if at this level you're unwilling to adopt a way? And I mean, like, what better way than having the device in your customer's pocket that buzzes every time you upload a piece of relevant information that they would want to know? They're going to love you for it. You're going to stay top of mind. They're going to come and buy all of those bumper accessories and
Mm-hmm.
wheels and everything. Who are they going to come buy from? They're going to come and buy it from the central point of the community that's been built.
I would love it. Yeah. I mean, if anyone's listening and wants to build that, I'm happy to lean in and help them and onboard them and, you know, give them a, you know, VIP experience. Cause I'd be curious. I'd be curious to see if a use case like that could work for Volley. Cause I could see as a Raptor owner, I haven't gone the TRX yet, but, you know, same thing. And I've even thought I've had my Raptor for 5 years, which is a world record for me. By the way, I'm hoping someone gives me an award, because usually I'm like a 6-month car person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, car dealers love me. But there's still stuff I don't know how to use on my Raptor, and I don't know that I'm going to search it out. But if my dealer sent me like a 2-minute video, hey, that trailer backup thing that you know that knob that you've never touched, this is how you do it. It's so simple, and it's going to change your world, man.
Right.
Like, I would watch it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And I would love Doug Smith, you know, or
Right.
you know, who'd I buy the Raptor from? I can't remember in
Right.
Idaho, but I'd love the dealership for me, right?
But
For
you
that.
would remember him if he did this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Totally. That's a good point. Corbin.
And also,
Corwin.
like,
Yeah,
hey,
that's who it is.
hey, Raptor owner, hope you guys are doing well. We're having a meetup next Thursday at the parking lot. Burgers, hot dogs. We're gonna show you some cool things about your truck. Hope you can make it. It's at this time, this place. Boom, done. Like, real time, quick, in my pocket,
Yes.
customer experience. And you know, people are going to be buying swag and parts and accessories because they're there feeling the energy. So I really do think there is a use case to not just to improve communication, but to use that communication then to build a community. And so, which leads me in no connected way to my last question for you. How old were you? Like, when did you realize that you enjoyed brining?
Probably when I was old enough to like stick my finger in the brine and taste it and say, "Oh, that's good."
What can you brine? I see jars of pickles on your LinkedIn.
Yeah. There's a skit on Portlandia that's just like, you can brine anything, man. A shoe, an egg, you can pickle that. Like, you know, a bird, pickle it. No, but I come from a family of picklers. My great grandfather, you know, my family didn't have money, but they had amazing pickle recipes and wrote them down in a leather bound book, and that's what I keep in my safe today. And I make pickles. It's a total hipster side hustle. My kids are involved. It's what keeps them off of setting lemonade stands up on the streets. It's their kind of summer business, and we grow and we only jar as much as we can grow here on our property, and jar it up and usually sell out in a day, usually in the morning.
Wow. Josh's classic dill, the crunchiest pickles known to man. It is actually
Marketing.
My mouth is watering. I'm not going to lie, but I had to ask you that because I know you play guitar. I know you RV. I now know you drive a Raptor. And this one I was like, this is interesting. But also speaks, can I just say, to the brilliance of your marketing mind, because you go through LinkedIn, it gets pretty stale. It's starting to become kind of like a doctor's office. And then there you are, tech entrepreneur with a hero image of pickles. And I think it's just such a pattern interrupt, and I love it. Man, how can those listening get in touch with you and learn more about Volley?
Hey, LinkedIn is a great way if you're on LinkedIn/Little Josh, or just download Volley, and it's pretty hard not to find me on Volley in one of the communities or in Hello Volley. So if you download Volley, you probably run into me.
I love it. Yeah, you're part of the startup sequence, aren't you?
I was once upon a time. Now we have a team that Mitch and soon to be Grace, who's
awesome.
they're amazing. Yeah.
Love it, man. Thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you.